What's the creepiest thing you've ever done? I once had a coworker whose cat had kittens. She said I could come see them, but then put it off for about a month. Later she brought it up again, and I told her that I was coming over to see those kittens before they grew up and turned into cats. She said it wasn't a good night, and I'd have to see them another time, but I told her I wasn't taking no for an answer. She had to drive another coworker home that night, so I insisted that I was going to follow them in my own car. She really didn't want me following her home, so she tried to lose me, driving fast with sharp turns. I followed them for a good long time, but eventually they lost me. They even went in the wrong direction to do so. Still, I knew roughly which way was to her house, so I parked my car on the side of the road, turned off all the lights, and waited. Eventually the pair came back, at which point I flipped on my high beams to freak them out and rocketed back onto the road. They turned down a side road and thought they gave me the slip, but little did they know that it was I who let them go. I drove full speed to the house of the coworker with the kittens, parked 2 blocks away and waited in her bushes until she got home. A half hour later she finally pulls in, alone and looking exhausted. As she was going to put her key in the door, I jumped out and shouted stab. As I thrust my empty hand into her side, right where her kidneys are. She dropped her keys and screamed, then pushed me away and quickly snatched up her keys, got inside, and locked me out. She changed shifts after that. I'm lucky she didn't get me fired. I shared a hotel room with my boss on a private work trip, and hooked up with him. Now my fiancé is calling off our wedding. I have been engaged to my fiancé for over a year, and we have been living together for the same amount of time. Earlier this month, I went on a 2-day business trip to Europe with my boss. I am his secretary plus assistant, so it was pretty much mandatory for me to go on this trip. And I was excited to go, because my boss had said that if I did well on this trip then he would double my Christmas bonus. Obviously, I was upfront to my fiancé about this, and he was very happy for me. He packed my bags for me and even dropped me at the airport. As soon as I met up with my boss, he greeted me in a friendly manner. I got the feeling that he was being flirty, but if I am being honest, he is very handsome and I enjoy the attention he gives me. I was given the responsibility of planning our trip, including the hotel rooms. I had booked a bigger room for him and a smaller one for myself. However, when we entered the hotel, the receptionist told us that they had overbooked, and since my reservation was the last one, we would only get one room. My boss told me to go sit at a distance while he talked with the manager. After a few minutes, he came to me and said that nothing could be done. We would have to share a single room. He said it was getting late at night and we were all very tired, so he compromised. I won't lie, I was very nervous about this situation. Sharing a room with another man when I had a fiancé waiting for me at home wasn't something I wanted to do. I asked him if we could try another hotel. But he said that if this one was fully booked, then they all were booked as well. Thankfully, the room we were given was the bigger one, so there was plenty of space. Once we dropped off the luggage, my boss offered to buy us drinks to relieve the tension from all the traveling. I thought it would be rude to refuse, so I accepted. He kept pouring drink after drink even though I was starting to feel sick. And the next thing I knew, I was in bed with him, cheating on my fiancé. It wasn't consensual at all. I was repeatedly telling him to get off me and leave me alone. He kinda coerced me into it by saying that I was the one who seduced him. I felt horrible, but eventually just let it happen. After all, what else could I do when I was in another country? I was so disgusted by the entire experience, and by the fact that I was so helpless during it. The next morning, I threw up several times before finally getting ready. When the meeting was going to happen, he reassured me to not be nervous and that he will handle everything. He looked normal, like he hadn't just forced himself on his employee. I decided that I would do everything to move on and not dwell on it. I was hurting deep inside, but if I raised my voice then my fiancé would find out about it. He had been very vocal about cheating from day one, telling me that he won't ever give me a second chance. That is because his ex-girlfriend had cheated on him with his best friend. I knew that if he found out what happened, he would call off the wedding. So in the end, the trip was a success except for what happened in the hotel room. I thought I could act like nothing was wrong when we flew back. But as soon as I returned and laid eyes on my fiancé, I was hit with immense guilt. I shared a hotel room with my boss on a private work trip, and hooked up with him. Now my fiancé is calling off our wedding. I thought I could act like nothing was wrong when we flew back. But as soon as I returned and laid eyes on my fiancé, I was hit with immense guilt. I realized what horrible thing I had done to this man. He put his absolute trust in me, and I betrayed him. On the ride back home, I was mostly silent. I knew he could tell that something was wrong, but he was still trying to ask how my trip went and if I was alright. When we got home, I told that I wanted to go to sleep since I was tired, and that we will talk tomorrow. I knew that one thing was certain, I could never tell him the truth. It would break his heart and I would lose my dream wedding. I went to sleep with a heavy heart. We would eventually move on and I would forget about that night anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I was wrong. In the morning, I woke up and noticed that several things in our house were broken. I looked into my closet, and my clothes were gone. As I walked into the living room, I saw my fiancé sitting on the couch with dead eyes. There were 2 suitcases near the front door. At that moment, I knew that he had found out about what happened, and packed all my stuff while I was sleeping. Still, I asked him what was wrong. With a shaky hand, he handed me his phone. My stupid boss had taken a video of our hotel room, and for some reason he had sent it to my fiancé. Why? Just why would he do that? Did he really want to brag that bad that he would destroy my marriage over it? I immediately got on my knees and begged my fiancé to forgive me. This was all just a big mistake. It was stupid of me to go on this trip. I sabotaged my relationship because of a effing bonus. I apologized to him and confessed how my boss had gotten me drunk and assaulted me against my will. In the loudest voice I had ever heard, he shouted, "Shut up." Just get out of my effing sight. I realized that anything I could say in that moment would just hurt him more, so I took all my stuff and left the house. I went to my parents' house and locked myself in a room. I have tried contacting my fiancé multiple times since then. But every time he doesn't pick up my call or doesn't respond to my texts, I just start crying harder and harder. The only update I have had is my parents knocking on my door saying that my fiancé has called off the wedding, and that they are disappointed in me for what I did. I don't know how to fix this. I don't want my marriage to end like this. But above all, I don't want to think about how much I hurt my wonderful fiancé.
My husband, 33M, told me he's no longer attracted to me, 27F, I'm currently pregnant with twins. I don't know what to do or if Terry's even anything I can do. This is basically my last resort before considering divorce. We have been together 7 years and married for 3. This is my first, very planned, very on purpose, pregnancy. I've never been with anyone besides my husband. He was my first kiss and everything else. He, on the other hand, not so much. I have a pretty high sex drive, and so does he, so going 2 to 5 times a day if we have time is pretty normal for us. After I hit around the 12-week mark of my pregnancy, he stopped initiating sex or responding to my sexual advances. It hurt, but he said he was stressed due to things at work, so I stopped making any sexual comments for a few weeks because I didn't want to add any extra pressure to his life. A few weeks passed and I mentioned that this is the longest we've ever gone without sex, just trying to see where his mind was at, and he said, "Why does it matter? Are you cheating on me?" Which took me for a loop. I don't take cheating accusations lightly and feel like if you say that, you should be ready to stand on it. It's insulting to my character, demeaning, and honestly downright disgusting. I told him those and how it made me felt, and he just got quiet. I told him I would never cheat, I'm not pathetic enough to do that. If I wasn't happy with him, I would just leave him. I have every ability to do so. He got emotional and said he was stressed out about money, and some petty debts around $5,000. So after we finished talking, I was thinking of a way to help him be less stressed, so sent him $7,500 from my savings. I've been working full-time for over 10 and something years at this point and started investing a few years ago, so my savings account is comfortable. I told him I sent it to him and he asked why, and I said the debts, and he said, "What debts?" And I just stared at him like, the ones you just cried in my lap about? He says something like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm just so off today," and goes to sit on the couch. The whole thing felt so weird, so I went out and asked him details about the debts. After 20 minutes of back and forth, he finally admitted he isn't stressed about debt and isn't having any money problems, he just isn't attracted to me anymore. I asked him what about me has changed since the last time he was attracted to me, because I'm pretty sensitive about my body image my entire life. However, I have never shared those insecurities with anyone. Not even him. It's something I always kept to myself, but even with my current body I honestly don't think I look that bad. So far I've literally only gained 25 to 30 pounds and I'm still working out and working full-time. So now I'm almost mad, because I didn't get fucking pregnant on my own, and last time I checked I wasn't the one begging for a kid for the past 2 years. I'm giving him 2 and now he's saying I'm ugly because of my belly? Pregnancy hormones and whatnot. I started crying a little but wiping them away as fast as I could because I was more mad than sad. He said it's not me, it's the pregnancy, and he's concerned about the long-term effects to my body after seeing videos of postpartum bodies and C-section scars. Then told me it wasn't fair that I was upset because he's having a natural male reaction and I'm manipulating his feelings. He's never said anything like this before, either. I asked him to explain what a natural male reaction is, and he said what makes a guy hard and what makes a guy not hard. I asked him to go stay with a friend for a night or two so I can have some space, and he's staying at his sister's, who called me and asked what happened because we never really fight. I don't know what to do, really. I'm exhausted from everything already, and this on top of it is just making me feel even worse. I've been crying all day and don't have anyone to really talk to this about, so any advice would be very helpful. Thank you. Added he has already sent the dollar back, as it's showing pending in my account already. I have looked through his laptop that is synced with his phone, our home office, his cars, because of how we were parked for the 3-day weekend, he had to take my 2-seater instead, and our financial statements. Unless he picked up an additional job to hide an affair, it would be hard for him to hide since his check direct deposits into my bank account, and I control the household finances. I'm much better with money than he is, and both of my parents were accountants, and I distribute the money. What he gets for fun money is not enough to hide an affair emo, but I've already went through everything. I would usually not be willing to do this, but I'm almost at my 3rd trimester and need answers now, not later. He has sent flowers and pregnancy craving foods, and notes saying that he loves me and he's sorry, but that's all they say. Not "I'm sorry for stressing you out," which inadvertently stresses out our children. Not "sorry for lying to you for weeks if not months." Just "I love you always, I'm sorry, please call me." His sister kept texting me, and then she had the nerve to ask if I cheated on him too, so I told her what happened and what he said. She told me she chewed him out and told his parents, too. His mom called this morning and said that no matter what, she and her daughter/my sister-in-law are here for me, so that helps, I guess. They know that my parents both have passed away and I'm not very close to the rest of my family. I haven't bit the bullet and told any of my friends yet, because once I tell them it becomes a little too real. and too embarrassing. My 28/F dog growled at my niece 3/F after she spent an entire evening harassing him. Now my brother, 31/M, wants me to put the dog down. Hi everyone. I have fostered a multitude of dogs in my life and dealt with a lot of behavioral problems: dog aggression, cat aggression, food aggression, separation anxiety, super high prey drives. I've seen it all, and I've certainly encountered my fair share of dogs who weren't safe around small children. So I feel extremely confident in saying my current 5-year-old lab mix is safe for kids. He's basically a gigantic teddy bear and loves everyone. However, it's always been my personal philosophy that dogs, and any other animal, really, should never be left alone with young kids, even if it's the sweetest, most mild-mannered dog in the world. The kids don't understand when they're pushing the dog past its limits, and the dog cannot reasonably be expected to put up with being harassed long after it's signaled that it would like to be left alone. My niece has never been good with my dog. She pulls his tail, climbs on/lays on him, hits him, pulls his ears, gets in his face and yells at him, and never gives him a second to himself unless she's forced to. He is basically a saint with her, but every dog has its limits. I stay as on top of this behavior as I can, forcing her to leave him alone when it starts to seem like too much, and locking him away in a bedroom if she won't. My brother and Sil, 30/F, really just don't get it, though. I've tried to talk to them about this behavior a bunch of times, and they know it's wrong, but they think it's wrong in the same way that her refusing to share or not picking up her toys is wrong. They don't understand that it's dangerous, and that if she was left alone long enough, my dog might lose it and attack her. This has been going on for over a year. I've tried to have this conversation with my brother over and over, but he always acts like I'm criticizing his parenting. Which is not the case. I don't think my niece is especially bratty or out of control for a kid that age. It's just that this behavior is dangerous to both her and my dog, and it needs constant intervention. The same way that a small kid playing with the stove isn't especially bratty, it's just especially dangerous, and needs to be curbed ASAP. I even tried having a dog trainer friend explain this to him, and he still didn't get it. I've tried to come up with excuses for why we can never meet at my house for our family hangouts, but I couldn't think of one the other day, and my brother and niece came over. I was cooking dinner and not paying enough attention to make sure my dog was okay, which was absolutely my fault, and I accept responsibility. I asked my brother a few times to keep her away from my dog, but he kept saying she was fine. I did move my niece away from him a few times, but I wasn't vigilant enough, and my dog ended up getting to the end of his rope and growling at my niece. I immediately grabbed my dog and brought him into my bedroom. I did not punish him at all. Frankly, I'm glad that he signaled loud and clear that he was uncomfortable. I would never want to discourage him from doing that, because then next time, he'd skip the growling and go straight to attacking. I came out of the room, ready to talk to my brother about how this is what I've been talking about. But he was furious, yelled that my dog is a menace who should be put down, and left. I completely understood his reaction. That's his daughter, and he was afraid for her, and nothing else mattered to him. But he hasn't calmed down at all since this happened, and won't talk to me except to say my dog needs to be put down, and he won't be speaking to me until it's done. He's also tried to involve our parents, who said they will absolutely not be getting involved. They know my niece's behavior with my dog has been a problem in the past. I have not heard from my Sil at all, which makes me think she might agree with me. Knowing her personality type, I don't really think she'd sit out a fight like this if she thought my dog was dangerous. The way I see it, this is solely my fault and my brother's fault. I shouldn't have allowed my niece to harass my dog. I knew what could happen, and I was more concerned about how upset my brother got when I tried to bring it up, than I was about my niece's safety. I should have just said my niece wasn't allowed on my dog until she got a Similarly, my brother should have kept a better eye on his kid, and not been so defensive when I tried to explain the problem. My dog, on the other hand, put up with being harassed for over a year, and when he was finally pushed to his limits, signaled very loudly, and harmlessly, that he needed to be removed from the situation. He is not dangerous, and I will not put him down. My brother is now saying that the entire family has sided with a dog over his child, which is not the case. It's just that there are lots of other solutions to this problem. I am perfectly happy to crate my dog when they come over, or leave him in another room, or just never have them over again and hang out somewhere else. There's no reason for my niece to ever see my dog again, and I'd be happy to talk over a solution with him. It's just that he won't talk to me at all, and I don't know what to do. Should I give him more time to cool off? Should I go over to his house and try to talk? I don't want to ruin this relationship. We are very close, but I'm just not putting my dog down over this. TLDR, after a year of warnings and my brother refusing to do anything about it, my dog got fed up and growled at my niece. Now he wants my dog put down, and won't talk to me until I do it. My mom turned her guest room into a nursery after I told her she will never meet my child. I am currently pregnant with my first child, and both my mom and stepdad have been terrible to me and my partner the entire time. Told us we would be unfit parents because we aren't married yet, legitimately screamed at my partner for knocking up their little girl even though we planned the pregnancy. They would call him every day and harass him, and showing up to his work. Try to convince him to leave me so I would have no choice but to move back in with them. It got worse as time went on. I finally decided to cut contact with them. Having a child can already be a stressful time, and having them around to make it worse was not something I was okay with. My partner and I have gone through a lot with family drama the past couple years, and having this baby has been one of the most exciting things for us. If my parents can't be nice to my partner, then they don't get to see our baby. Plus, they are the kind of people who don't wear masks in public and actively choose to be in large gatherings with no social distancing, so them seeing a newborn is out of the question. One day I sent my mom a very detailed email of why she is not allowed to be a part of my life anymore and will not be seeing her grandchild. To make things even better, I also noted that we will be moving across the country shortly after she is born to be closer to other family members. So not only is she cut off, but we are literally moving far away and never coming back. She responds by showing up at our house at 11 p.m., screaming outside our door about how it is her baby and she deserves to be there for it. I tell her to fuck off, and eventually she leaves. Months go by and she will text me randomly asking about technical problems with her Wi-Fi router or something and needs help. Little things like that don't mean much to me, and I sent her the info she needed. My cousin also had a virtual baby shower and sent my invitation to my mom's house accidentally, so my mom came by to give it to me. Things slowly came to a point that we were fairly amicable with each other, but I still stood my ground about our boundaries and nothing else had changed. She knew this. Then she sends me a video today that blew my mind. She redecorated her entire guest room to be a nursery. Crib, changing table, $400 worth of newborn clothes, toy chest, stroller, a car seat for her car, and the list goes on. In the video she is in tears saying, I can't believe my baby is going to be here soon. This is where she will sleep, where I will change her little diapers, these will be her toys. Is she psychotic? Her baby? Sleeping and living at her house? What? So I call her up immediately and I reiterate that we are still moving across the country soon and that she will have no contact with the baby before that. Her response? Oh, okay, we will see about that. Genuinely confused. What part of you will have no contact with this baby does she not understand or thinks will change in the next few weeks when she is born? Is she planning on stealing her from us? I am at a loss for words.